Well, it's certainly been quite the week in the world of silver and gold, finance, banking, you name it. It's been there with big fat thumbnails full of flames and rocket ships. Are gold and silver actually about to take off and go to the moon? No, of course they're not. Is the world about to end because SVB had made some errors? No, of course it's not. And I'll tell you exactly for why in this video and why I still put my faith in gold and silver. Hello everybody, Backyard Bullion here, and a very warm welcome to you all joining me for another Precious Metal Ramble. Now, the elephant in the room this week, of course, is SVB and the banking crisis that we find ourselves in. And if you would believe the vast majority of the video titles and thumbnails out there, the world is coming to an end, and silver and gold are going to save you, and you're going to have £50 an ounce, $50 an ounce, and $10,000 an ounce gold. Yeah, probably not. So, in today's video, I'm going to talk a little bit about this situation, and I haven't jumped on the bandwagon and made something for Monday and Tuesday. You know, we're in a few days now, because this is a fundamentally different situation to perhaps what a lot of people think and maybe hope for, rather strangely, that this is the start of the end. But there are a lot of fundamental differences to the financial crashes of 2008, 9 and 10. Now, I also want to talk about gold and silver's relationship to what we're seeing right now, because there are some good things about gold and silver. And despite my hesitance and reticence for people to rush out and buy as much as they can, because now is the time that the banks are failing, it's still good to go and buy. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here telling you shouldn't go and buy gold and silver, but I don't like the fear-mongering. I don't like the... It's not so much misinformation, because there are definitely warning signs out there, but there are also a lot of panicking, sort of just, you know, misinformation coming out there about what might happen. So it's kind of future information. There's a lot of fear-mongering, basically, and there's a lot of bullion-based businesses which are hyping that and benefiting from it. So with all that in mind, let's dive in and talk about this situation with SVB. Now, I'm not a banker, I'm not a financial banker like that, so I don't know the full ins and outs of it. But from all of the reading that I've done and all of the media that I've consumed about this, this is a fundamentally different bank to a traditional bank. It's one that held big sums of money of businesses that had already received that money. And a traditional bank makes its money through loans. It gets loan interest paid on it, and it will then have that cash as surplus to help fund situations like SVB found itself in, where it needed to basically raise the capital to give the cash to people who had money in the bank. And the problem with SVB is, because it wasn't a traditional bank in that sense, it had to rely on treasury yields. And treasury yields are always affected when interest rates go up. And that's the big crux here, interest. And that's the thing that's playing into a lot of people's fear and hype, that interest rates are causing banks to collapse, that they can't afford to finance the debt that they have. But this is a very different situation to that. This bank could not finance the creditors that were having money in its bank, so it had to raise capital, and then it caused a hysteria run on the bank, rightly so. And you know, I'm not just talking about this from sort of an armchair position. I have actually got somebody I know that was banking with SVB as a business and had a significant amount of cash in that business, and over the course of that first initial wave of, oh dear Lord, what on earth is happening, there was a lot of fear about whether that cash was gone. You know, a lot of these deposits were well above the threshold for insurance, and that's, I think, quite scary. Now, the bailouts as well that are coming for this bank are not really bailouts at all, and a lot of people are misconstruing that this is just another example of a bank getting away with whatever they want and being bailed out. That's not the case. There is a different system set up to how things used to be, and now, of course, that is essentially an insurance pot of money that is being used to cover that, and also the bank's assets as well. So, you look, it's not a case that we are causing taxpayers to lose cash. We're not bailing out the bankers like we did before. That visceral hate towards bankers, whilst even myself, I'm not a massive fan, it's not warranted. So, you know, from that perspective, it's very, very interesting to see the difference in how banking is now compared to how it was then. And I do feel, I'm probably going to be chastised for being some kind of Wall Street shill and all of this by the crazies in the comment sections and people who perhaps live in a slightly different world than I do. But we have learned from 2008, 9, 10. There are lots of new regulations in place for the banking sectors. This whole idea that we're going to see a complete global collapse again is unlikely. Now, it's possible. Of course it's possible, because hysteria can spread like wildfire and runs on banks can happen. But traditional banks are different now to how they used to be. But there is still a chance, and that's what makes me comfortable holding silver and gold. And I did say to Mrs. Backyard Bullion this week, I was like, look, we've got it's a pretty hefty week ahead of us in terms of the other investments that we might hold within the world of finance, and stocks and shares have shown their volatility by quite a long way this week, and that's, I think telling. And I was like, Mrs. Backyard Bullion, we're probably going to have a lot of paper losses this week on the old stocks and shares markets. And she was like, well, it's a good job we've got gold and silver. And it is. It's a good job that we've got gold and silver, because if things go to pot completely, then this stuff is what will get you through it. Now, that is a good thing to have before the crises, but if a crisis starts hitting, is now really the time to kind of just front load and go all in on something. How much do you really need? And if you are on that sort of smaller end budget, then what's the biggest and best thing that you can look to buy or do right now? Quite frankly, if you've got nothing and you're looking at this video going, or looking at other videos going, well, the banks are about to fail, I need gold and silver, then now is just as good a time as any. Look what happened. Silver went up, 5% in dollar terms? Maybe, I think it was like 4% in UK pound terms. Gold's gone up a little bit, but it's pulled back a bit now. The volatility settled. It's not shot to the moon, so go for it. If you want to buy gold and silver, do it responsibly, like I've always preached on this channel, but maybe don't expect to buy silver now and then in 3 months' time sell it for $50 an ounce, because history is going to repeat itself with the rise in silver price of 2011. That's, in my opinion, not happening anytime soon, and it's certainly a different scenario for gold and silver than it was back then. So lots of things to think about if you're going to buy. If you've already got a bunch of gold and silver and you're worried about the world right now, then just sit back and enjoy that gold and silver. Continue with your buying budgets if you've got them, and just enjoy the fact that you're protected. Insurance is what gold and silver is for. It's about keeping that wealth safe over time. And that's exactly what I felt good about this week for my gold and silver. Now, you've got to look at the facts here. We had a big bank. It is a big bank. It collapsed. Gold and silver didn't go very high. They went up a little bit, as you would naturally see, because stocks and share markets were volatile. Various different asset wealth management firms will have put money into safer haven assets like gold and silver, hence the price going up a little bit. But it's now settling a little bit, and if anything, now is one of the best time to look to get back into and buy some of those banking stocks. And I know a lot of people won't want to hear that, and this is by no means a kind of investment banking stock advice tip video. Christ, I'm not that kind of person at all. But what I would say is that the bigger, wider market is very, very volatile, and there will be ups and downs of various different stocks all over the place. And we might well see some bull and bear markets. Excuse me. Big sneeze in the middle of a YouTube video. Lovely for all of you people watching to the end. Now, the bull and bear markets, it's been a bit stagnant, really, quite frankly, for gold and silver for this last few months. We'll see what happens in that longer term, whether or not we get a big run on gold and silver. I really don't think it will happen in the light of this. I think what will now happen, though, is that we'll start to see a steady trick up in gold and silver prices. It's evident now, to me anyway, that whilst the world is different to how it was in 2010, 11, or 8, 9, 10, 11, there is still risk out there for, of course, different assets. The stocks and shares markets are always volatile, and even more so in this crazy world. We've seen that over the last 3 years with the pandemic as well. So from my perspective, I feel like gold and silver are now more desirable than they were a week ago because of everything that's happening. There's going to be loads of new people worried about banking, watching YouTube videos, seeing these thumbnails, I just hate them, thumbnails with big flame borders and storm clouds and people's angry faces from the Fed. I mean, I'm looking at one right now and it's hilarious because the Silver Eagle's got a rocket ship underneath it and it's taking it to the moon. It's just calm, normal silver buying will do you just right. If you're new, what could you buy? You could buy a lot of things, but buy sensibly. Do your research. Make sure you're not getting ripped off by some bullion dealer who's hyping and then putting the prices up massively on what they are selling. And let me tell you, that will be happening. I've already seen on a number of big UK dealers going, increased demand. Deliveries will take 1 to 3 days. Great. I mean, deliveries will take 1 to 3 days on a normal time anyway. So, you know, there's hype there. There's like fear of missing out, FOMO everywhere right now. And I hope that this is the voice of calm amongst the sea of crap that's out there, quite frankly. Now, look, there are legitimate concerns for sure for people out there right now. And I would also encourage your own research compared with just watching all of these humongously silly YouTube videos with silly thumbnails. But there is concern out there, and gold and silver is a viable way to alleviate some of those concerns. It's not the solution, though. It's not the sole solution. If you go all in on silver right now and you take all of your cash out banks, then that's just going to put you at risk. You're going to have the potential that you might need to sell your gold and silver if something untoward happened. If you do it sensibly, though, and you put a good budget in, that's fine. But also remember that there could well be a lot more money to be made in different and other types of investments, not just gold and silver. And if you're somebody who believes quite firmly that this is the beginning of the end, then really do have a good hard think about what that actually means. And quite frankly, if the world does completely collapse, which it's not going to. We saw in 2008 the world didn't completely collapse. We had a bit of a shitstorm, but it did not completely collapse by any stretch of the imagination. And it's unlikely to do so this time round as well. So be sensible, have cash when you might need it, have silver, have gold, buy what you want to buy. If you want to ignore the advice in this video, that's absolutely fine too. But just take a step back and have a good hard think about what happened this week. 2 relatively small banks have been, inverted commas, bailed out by an insurance fund that they paid into. There's been a lot of hype and hysteria this week about the coming foreclosure of the US dollar, and that's just not really likely. What I think is likely is that we are going to see gold and silver tick up in price, but not in a large, fast, ridiculous way. I think we've hit a new bottom for silver. It's been on the drop for the last few weeks, months even, and now we've seen that level off. And I said it about 3 or 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago now, I think, if I look at my past videos, that I had stopped buying silver because I could see silver going down further. And now I'm of the opinion that silver will start to tick up a little bit. So if you're going to buy sensibly and buy what you think might be right for you. Now, that is my thoughts on the matter. I am inevitably going to be called some kind of CIA shill, Wall Street shill, whatever it is, from the monkeys over on Wall Street, silver and all the others. But that's the nature of things. If, however, you've enjoyed a little bit more of a down-to-earth ramble about this whole situation, then don't forget to show your support by subscribing to my channel and heading over to the giveaway video if you've not done so already. If you're new, if this is the first video watching, we are giving away this 500 gram piece of silver. All you need to do is comment on that video that I posted on Sunday last week. So go and check that out. There's a link down in the description box below. A few other announcements as well. We've got one of the Mint Era Britannias here with the 90-degree die rotation. That's not normal. As you can see, we've got, whilst this is a King Charles Britannia, when you turn this one around, if we get the camera back in focus, when you turn this one around, the King's portrait is the right way orientated. This one, not so much. And so this is up for auction, as you can see, on eBay right now. There's also a link in the description to that eBay listing. It's at £415. £415 for an ounce of silver. Pretty mad. Anyway, that's up for auction now. Otherwise, the last thing to say is if you are a hardcore supporter and viewer of our channel and you watch this point, I do thank you. And if you want to show your support even further, then we have got a limited number of our 1 gram hallmarked gold bars left available on our website. You can go and find those on backyardbullion.com. There you go, there's the URL. And also if you scan that QR code, it'll take you to my website too. But any support you can give, it would be greatly appreciated. As I said, there's only, we've got like 25 out of the 100 left, so selling pretty quick, and they'll be gone. And when they're gone, I don't think I'm going to make any more of those this year. So if you want to get one, then that would help our channel a lot. Otherwise, I think that's all the announcements. That's all the little bits and bobs I put out on the table. So let's get those back out here. We've got the 500 gram puck. We've got the eBay silver coin, and we'll put one of the gold bars out there as well. So thank you one and all for watching. I do genuinely appreciate anyone who watches to the 16th minutes of my video. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. If you are a rambler, I always like to hear from you that you are, so we'll see you down there for a comment. Otherwise, that's it from me. Stay safe all, have a good week, and look, you know, don't get too worried about the world ending. If it ends, you're going to have bigger things to worry about than not having bought some silver, but it's not going to end. So there we go. Thanks all for watching. We'll see you on the next video. And as always, please make sure that you like, share, comment, and subscribe for more.